Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Today, let's take a look at how to get started using the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. Congratulations, you've purchased a Neural DSP Quad Cortex. The box arrived from Sweetwater, you've unpacked the processor, and you're ready to start making music. Let's take a step-by-step tour of how to get to work making sounds with the Quad Cortex. To get started, let's power up the Quad Cortex. It's as simple as connecting the AC wall adapter to the input on the back panel. So we simply plug that in. Once we've got power coming in, the Quad Cortex will boot up and it'll be ready to play. Now we need to make our audio and our guitar connections. For this step, I recommend that you turn your speakers down first to prevent any pops or bangs from getting through when you make the connections. We'll begin by connecting our guitar. Simply plug the 1/4-inch cable into input 1. Next, we'll connect our outputs to our speaker system. Now I'm plugged into a full-range flat response or FR speaker system, so I'll be using the XLR outs, which are outputs 1 and 2. If you're connecting to something with a 1/4-inch input, you might use outputs 3 and 4. They both function basically the same, and you can assign them however you like later on inside the Quad Cortex. So let's go ahead and connect up our XLR cables. If you're monitoring through headphones, simply connect the headphones to the headphone jack on the back panel. At this point, you can power up your speaker system and turn up its volume, and you can also turn up the volume here on the top panel. If you want to take a quick look at your input and output settings, simply swipe down on the touch screen. Let's take a look at how you get around on the Quad Cortex. Navigating is very simple. Most of the action takes place right here on the multi-touch screen. What we're looking at here is called the grid, and this shows us the different effects blocks that we have installed in the signal path. The signal path goes from input to output, and we can change those assignments by simply clicking on them. The number one feature you should know about, of course, is where the tuner is located, and that's under the tap tempo switch. The tap tempo switch is here at my lower right. If you press and hold that, the screen will jump to the guitar tuner. As we'll see later, you can adjust parameters either on screen or you can turn the foot switch's rotary controls to adjust settings as well. Let's explore some of the sounds in the Quad Cortex. The only thing we need to do is make sure that we're in preset mode. You can select that by pressing here and ensuring we're in preset, or push these two switches together to get to the presets. Now this gives us 32 banks of 8 presets. Again, we move through the banks using these two switches, and then we have our 8 presets arrayed here. So we have a total of 256 presets available at any given time. You can easily switch to a completely different set of banks by clicking the patch name, which allows you to move into some of the different libraries of sounds. We'll stay with the factory sounds right now. We'll hit done to return. So preset number 1 is a 2203 or a Marshall amplifier. Preset 2 is the normal input on a Plexi 100. Preset 3 is a twin. Preset 4 is a jazz chorus. And so on. You can explore all 256 of those presets. Lots of sounds available inside the Quad Cortex. And then keep in mind, you can add your own sounds as well. We'll take a look at how to do that in just a second. Once you have a preset called up, like our jazz chorus preset here, you may want to make some changes to the settings. Very easy to do. Simply click on one of the effects blocks. So our effects blocks include the amplifier here. We can change the volume, we could turn the bass down a bit, and we can adjust those settings either on screen as I'm doing here. You could type in the settings, or you can actually turn the rotary controls that are built into the foot switches to change the settings. When you've opened up the parameters for a given effects block, you can also bypass that block completely by hitting the bypass button. Re-engage, and hit done when you're finished. So let's say we want to adjust the reverb on our preset. We'll click the reverb block here. We can adjust the pre-delay time. Let's turn that up just a little bit, and we'll increase our mix as well. Let's turn that up to about 50-50. Somewhere around here, we'll increase our decay time. And when we're finished, we hit done, and now we should have more reverb. So it's very easy to edit your presets inside the Quad Cortex. We can also change the order of our presets very simply. Simply hold on a block, drag it over, and now we have our reverb in front of our chorus. Once you've explored the factory presets, you'll probably want to create a preset of your own. To do this, go to the main menu under the 3 dots here at the upper right, click Create New, and you'll create a blank, empty preset. Again, our signal flow is from input. We're plugged into input 1, and we're going out of output 1 and 2. We can add effects blocks by clicking the plus, or actually we can click anywhere in the signal path. So let's go ahead and click that, and we'll choose an amplifier to get started. We'll choose the Friedman 100 Rhythm. Now you can hear that's really fizzy sounding, it's very bright, and that's because we actually don't have a speaker cabinet yet. All we have is the raw amplifier. So to get the sound to where it actually sounds like an amp, let's click after that, open it up, and we'll choose a cabinet. Choose guitar again. Let's scroll through here, and we'll choose a Bogner 4x12 with vintage 30s. Sounds much better. Now we can adjust this as well. So if we click on the amplifier, we have control over gain, voicing, saturation, EQ controls, and so on. We can also click on our cabinet, and we can choose the microphones that we're using. We can set the distance the mic is away from the cabinet, how it's positioned, all those sorts of things. So you have a lot of versatility for adjusting the amplifier, the cabinet, and the microphone to exactly the sound that you want. To add a little ambience to our sound, let's plug a reverb in. So we'll click after our speaker cabinet. We'll scroll down to reverb, and we'll choose a spring reverb here. This will give us a stereo reverb effect. Click on the spring reverb to open it up. Let's turn our mix down a bit. Get that down somewhere around 30%. We'll turn the damping up, tone up so it's a little brighter. Let's hear how that sounds. Nice. When we're finished, simply hit done. It might also be nice to put a phase shifter in front of our amplifier. To do that, let's click. We'll choose a modulation effect, choose a phaser, and let's put that in front of our amp by clicking and holding and dragging over. Now the phaser's in front of the amplifier. Let's open that up and hear what it sounds like. Turn our speed down a little bit, turn our width up a little bit. Bring our width back down. I like that. It's adding just a little bit of modulation to our signal. When we're finished, we'll hit done. And let's say that this is our preset. We're now ready to save this preset. To do that, we simply click here on the save icon, and now we can name this. We'll call it MG Amp. Hit save. There are two other modes that the Quad Cortex can operate in that are very useful. The first is called Scenes Mode. Scenes Mode basically allows you to save a variation of your preset. So you can access up to 8 different variations. You could have all of your effects blocks on here and then turn them on and off by accessing different scenes. So let's go ahead and copy this preset into our second scene. First of all, we'll go to Scene Mode. Simply press that button, or we can hit these 2 buttons until we get to Scene. Press and hold. It'll ask us where we want to save. I'm going to put that under our second one here. Now in this scene, I'm going to go ahead and bypass that phaser. So let's go ahead and click that, bypass, and we'll hit save. Now when we go to scene 1, the phaser's on. When we go to scene 2, the phaser's off. So you could do this with delays, you could do this with a boost, with an overdrive, you could select among different amplifiers, different cabinets for solos, for example. So a lot of versatility. Basically the way I use this is I set up a preset for each song in my set list. And then I've got the verse, the chorus, the solo, the out, the in, whatever it might be under the different scenes, and I can easily step among them and still move among the presets by using these 2 switches. It's a very convenient mode to use for live performance. The third mode is Stomp mode. So let's press again. And in Stomp mode, basically this functions like a pedal board. So we can turn the individual effects on and off. So we can turn our amplifier on and off, for example. We can turn our cabinet on and off. The reverb. We can turn our phaser on and off. And you can adjust what's assigned where by clicking here. Choose the foot switch that you want to change that. Now foot switch 1 will turn that phaser on and off. When you're done, hit done. Now anytime you make changes to a preset, to a scene, you want to be sure to save. So simply click the save icon. You'll notice the asterisk goes away, the italics go back to regular print, and you know that you've saved your preset. Another cool feature for live performance is if you swipe up, you'll have gig view. And this shows you what's assigned to each foot switch. So our phaser, in this case we can turn the amp on and off, or our spring reverb on and off. Gig view is also active in preset and scene modes as well, so it's very easy to see what's actually placed under each of the 8 foot switches. One of the most powerful features of the Quad Cortex is the ability to capture external gear. So you can actually capture one of your favorite amplifiers or one of your favorite pedals. Let's go ahead and see how that works. I have a Fender Pro Reverb tube amplifier. I've got a microphone on it, and we're going to capture that into the Quad Cortex so we can use it in our presets. Making a capture is very simple. Go to the main menu, again click those 3 dots, scroll down to New Neural Capture. Click that, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So our first instruction is to move our instrument cable into the return 1 input. So let's unplug here, and we'll connect to return 1. We'll click Next to go to our next step. Now you can connect your headphones to your XLR outputs. We've already done that because we were already listening to the Quad Cortex, so we're good to go on that. Now we'll click Next. We need to connect the capture out. This sends the signal from the Quad Cortex into our amplifier or a pedal if we're capturing a pedal. To do that, simply plug a 1/4-inch cable into the capture output. This screen also tells us that the other end of this cable goes to the input of the target device. So the other end of the 1/4-inch cable will plug into the input of our amplifier. We'll hit Next. And now we need to bring the signal back from the amplifier or pedal back into the Quad Cortex. And we've got a microphone that we've placed on our Pro Reverb amplifier, and I'm running the XLR cable, so we'll go ahead and plug that back in to input 1. So we've made all our connections, so we can hit Confirm to let the Quad Cortex know that we're ready to go. Now we're ready to start our capture, but before we do that, we can make sure that all our settings are appropriate. So we can set our levels, ground lift. We're actually using a microphone, so we'll need to change that to mic. It's a dynamic mic, so we don't need phantom power. We can auto set the level, so that'll be fine. So we're ready to hit Start Capture. At this point, the Quad Cortex will send a bunch of wild sounds out of that capture output into the amplifier. It'll record those sounds back into itself, then it'll analyze those and create a capture that we can use in our presets. So let's go ahead and hit Start Capture, and the Quad Cortex will take care of the rest. Once the Quad Cortex has gone through its process of sending sound through the amplifier back into itself, then it does a sanity check, which basically means that it analyzes those signals and kind of gets them ready to be processed inside. Then it does what's called training, where it's actually teaching itself about that sound and creating the neural capture that we can then use in our presets. So that's the point we're at now. Once the Quad Cortex has finished its capture process, it'll switch to this screen. Now at this point, we can go back and start over from the beginning if we want to do a different capture. We can save this capture, but we can also A/B compare between the capture that the Quad Cortex has made and the original amplifier. And we do that by switching between Cortex and Reference. You can either click those or you can turn the knob. So if we listen, once you're happy with your capture, hit Save, and now you can name it. We'll call this Pro Reverb. And hit Save. And now we're done. We can exit. Now let's create a new preset using that Quad Cortex capture. So we'll click here, click Neural Capture. We want to go to My Captures, and my Pro Reverb is right up here on top. We can select that. And once we have our neural capture loaded, we can click to fine-tune that. We have control over gain, bass, mid, treble, as well as the output volume. So if we want to pull the bass down a little bit, we can do that. We can bring up some mids, add a bit more highs, maybe bump up the gain. Bring our gain back down. And it's as easy as that. We hit Done when we're finished. Now we don't have to load a cabinet or a microphone in this case because all of that was part of the capture. We went straight into the amp and the amp was mic'd up, playing through its own speaker, so all that's included in this neural capture. It's basically ready to go. One thing to keep in mind is that capture is intended to capture amplifiers, overdrives, distortions, tone shaping pedals like EQs. You don't use a capture for things like phase shifting or delay or reverb. You'd use the internal effects inside the Quad Cortex to add those effects into your signal path. One other great feature about the Quad Cortex is that it has built-in Wi-Fi, so you can connect up to the cloud. You can share presets, you can share captures, you can download presets, you can download captures, you can even back up the unit to the cloud so your presets and your captures are always safely stored. To access that, we'll go back to the main menu, we'll scroll down to Settings, and now we have Wi-Fi settings, which are here. It'll find a network for you, and you can select that. I'm on Sweetwater's public network. Then you can create an account, simply scan the QR code, enter your information, log in, and at that point you can access the cloud. Again, upload your presets, download presets, share things, backup, all those things can take place from right here on the Quad Cortex. Very cool. I hope you've enjoyed this look at how to get started with your new Quad Cortex from Neural DSP. It's an amazing processor. I know you're going to love using it. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click here for more videos like this, or start at sweetwater.com for all your music instrument and pro audio needs.